Something I learned too early that I think helped our business is I think the baseball background and resume matters, but the instructor's personality and how they relate to kids and parents is more important. Because if they're passionate about it, they're gonna build clientele. It doesn't matter if they played in the big leagues or NAIA.
If your history as a player was really good, that doesn't really solidify you as a good teacher or a good trainer or even a good motivator.
I also don't think it's a blanket statement where it's not. I mean, I think there are really good guys that played high level big league baseball, and I'm sure they're wonderful teachers, right? But I don't think you need that high elite resume in order to teach kids how to develop.
Do you think that you can call a business or even a team family, or do you think there's a line there?
You see that type of a culture.
How do you create that? I'm thinking of microcosm. How does a team do that? Where a coach is like, man, I want to build this team for my son or my daughter, and I want this team to be a culture where like they can rely on these people when they grow up and they keep on going through high school and college. Like they'll have those memories and those conversations, and like if they have a problem, they can always reach out to that person, that mom or that dad or even the daughter or the son. How do you create that?
Let's finish it.
Coming in, flex. I just wanna win, LABB, who we running with, 2233, I'm on 10 again, state your name.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms, and this is a show about people, culture, and how to create a winning lifestyle. Our guest today is actually the owner of the show. That awkward moment where he's a guest and he's also the owner. So we have Aaron Jaworowski, who's with us. He's the president, owner, operator of the Rawlings Tigers, Rawlings Training Center, Balls and Strikes. You got anything else in the hatchet?
No, that's it. But I appreciate it, and very, very glad to be here. So big listener and excited to be here.
First question: have you ever thought about firing either me or Dave during this time?
Honestly, I have not. So let's get that out there first.
And the lies have already started.
So today, guys, we're going to have a Christmas show, and I thought that this was apropos for what's going on the holiday season. Family, friends, it's a big time where I like to reflect and think about gratitude and spend time with people that I love spending time with. Obviously, you have your work family, then you have your actual genetic family, and then you have this thing called a team. And what I want to do is I want to talk about this concept of team, family, friends. Where is the line drawn, or is there a line? And I wanted to get Aaron's thoughts, because how he's developed his businesses from an employee standpoint and working for him for how long has it been? 5, 6, 7. I worked for you in high school too, so
yeah, it's been a while.
It's been quite some time,
right? You've been at least 7.
Yeah, 7. I mean, it's weird because I was a customer of his when he first started, and then I became a part-time employee because I needed a part-time job for summer camp, so I did that for quite some time
Through college.
Yep, through college, and then pro ball. I was in and out. You started bringing me in with the Tigers.
Yep.
And Dave, were you the same way? Did you start as a customer too?
I was never a customer.
Did you use the facility in high school?
I did not, which is weird because I went to high school like probably 5 minutes away from it. But I only did a couple private lessons my senior year with Lance, who's a different club owner. Didn't really ever come in until one of my mutual buddies who also worked for you, Matt Walker. He said I was just looking for a job during my graduate school years, and because I went to school in town here. And he said, why don't you call up Jaws? He runs camps, and you can maybe teach and do stuff. So he gave me your number, and that's when I called you. But yeah.
Well, what's interesting from an employee standpoint is that it always seemed like it's been a family of some sorts, where you seem pretty like it's pretty close. And we were talking about this we went to go get lunch before this. Sorry for not giving you the invite, but we were talking about how different leaders and their ability to get people to stay together for a long period of time. Obviously, with Bill Belichick, that's a famous one. Nick Saban, you name most of the famous coaches out there, or even the Michael Jordan being able to keep the dream team together and convincing guys to play in the Olympics, and also convincing Pippen to stay with Chicago. Like, how do you approach that? Because you started out just a pro ball player who had this idea of, I'm going to start a batting cage. And then you started going into it. Like, how do you go from 0 to now you have 5 full-time employees, seven? How many do we have?
Yeah, there's 7.
We have 7 full-time employees. I mean, it's still a small business, but it's not like it's in, because with corporate side, you have corporate structure behind you, and it protects that leader. So if someone disagrees with that leader, there's a chain of command. But like from small business, how do you stop from someone saying like, all right, I'm out, see ya, peace?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just trusting the people. Like you want to connect yourself with good people, right? Like our high school teams, we want to find the best coaches we can to lead those kids and families through the summer season. We talk about that all the time. And I don't think it's any different with the Tigers or the facility side, the program side. You want to lay out clear lines of where we're at right now,
Sure.
where are we going, and what's in it for them when we get there. And if you do that, they're vested in it, right? They're going to share in this success when you get there. And let's face it, like me as an owner, I need you guys. I need you guys to get where I want to go, where I want the club to go, where I think you guys want to go, and it all works out that way. And you just got to take it one step at a time, And
I guess it's interesting from our standpoint because we have little microcosms of the big picture, right? So you're a club owner, but then inside the club owner, you have directors, which is locations.
Yep.
Then you have the coaches, which have teams. And then inside those teams, there's a little pocket of players where there's going to be a leader. And being able to keep every single one of those microcosms together is pretty impressive because like you really navigate through more of a family aspect. Like, how do you approach that?
I think it's all just culture you build with the club. And I mean, quite honestly, we're in our 12th summer here with the Tigers, but quite honestly, it's a lot of stuff that you guys have done, Shannon, Sandy, Nash, Trent, Steve Hacker, Ryan Romiller. We're all molding that culture, and we have been since we started. And that gets filtered out, through social media, through our website, on the field in the summer, in a batting cage at night, teaching lessons. It's all, you do it for training and development purposes, and you build relationships with the families, coaches, parents, and players. But it takes a whole army of people, whether they're full-time like you guys or me, or part-time instructors, Grayling Tobias and Mike Callahan, and or maybe it's the person answering the phones at night who's just working 10 hours a week. Like it's everybody. It's that's what makes it go. So it's just trying to get those pieces connected the same way and pushing out a culture and always keeping the brand in front and what we're trying to do and accomplish.
Well, how did that start from day one where you were a pro player and you're like, I'm going to build a batting cage?
And I always find this interesting because I want you to kind of talk just briefly on your background, because you've shared some stuff. Maybe you don't even know this, Spiker, and maybe it's just things that me and Jaws have talked about over the years. I mean, like, you started off where you were just doing camps in the summer. Then that led into a facility where, I mean, I don't know if you want to dive into that, but like how it's kind of evolved. It's been kind of cool to hear.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one thing's led to another and evolved and grew, but it was just doing summer camps without a facility. And then they had private lessons on the side.
You're fresh out of pro ball, or you're still in pro ball?
I was in independent ball one summer between the Twins and the Yankees. I was home in St. Louis playing for the Rascals in the Frontier League, and the Yankees signed me off the Frontier League. And so I was doing camps.
It was a side hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. And,
when your job is a side hustle.
Yeah, but the camps fed into lessons, and you started learning the kids and some local coaches in the area that were sending kids to the camps.
So was that your passion, or is that just you trying to make some money and surviving as a pro ball player? Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. I loved to teach hitting. I mean, I was first baseman, and I hit. Couldn't run, didn't throw very well, but I could hit a baseball, and I loved it. And I would hit buckets of baseballs. I was that cage rat, right, that we see guys in here now every year, and that was me. And just always trying to figure out the swing and mechanics and how to get better. So it was definitely a passion. And then we had enough kids built up and clients where we felt, and Steve Hacker was a big part of it back then too. He actually taught lessons with us. We would do lessons at Parkway South High School and then another facility in town.
And Steve's been with you for 20 plus years.
Yeah, I think probably 20. Let's see, I've had Balls and Strikes and Baldwin now. This is our 21st season. So I think Steve's been with me for about 22 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and we taught side by side. I mean, I think I was going 7 days a week because I had to cover the rent and the bills and everything else. And we'd do lock-ins and stay overnight and do the lock-in camp. And
those are the ones
wouldn't
that
leave. I'd go right and teach them lessons on Sunday.
I did those, yeah.
You did those?
Yeah,
Spiker did one. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. Isn't that a crazy concept?
I don't know if you could do that now.
I don't think you can do that.
I don't know either.
I really like if we threw out a flyer and be like, all right, we're gonna do
Everybody's gonna sleep over and hit all night.
Yeah.
with 30-year-old dudes, 40-year-old dudes, like what?
Yeah. We did wiffle ball and cage ball and
That's
played
sweet.
baseball movies, had pizza. It was
Someone out there's like, oh, I wish they could do that again.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know these days, but it was.
If anyone doesn't know, Steve Hacker in St. Louis, he's a very well-known name, and just from his playing career, and he's one of those stories where he didn't make it because he was in a log jam, and he hit, how many home runs did he hit in 1 year? 30, 32?
He hit 38 at Missouri State to lead the
nation.
NCAA.
Yeah, led the nation
Division
in home
I
runs. Yeah, and then also
single season.
he was a AA player that hit like 30 home runs and didn't make to the show.
He's a double A MVP with the Braves.
Got traded, and then was behind Big Papi.
Yeah. I usually, I mean, when you have Big Papi in front of you, who's a legend and Hall of Famer, it's tough. But he's very famous for, Steve is very famous for his hitting. A lot of guys, he has a number of draft picks, a first rounder, and also some major leaguers. So he's a big name here in St. Louis. But when you started out as like just a business owner, and did you know anything about business? Did you know anything about?
No.
Zero.
Nope.
Like literally all I had, the only idea you had was, I want to start a batting cage.
Yeah, and I knew hitting, and I knew I could teach hitting, and I had a lot of clientele on the hitting side, like, wait list in the winter, and I was going 7 days a week teaching, like literally. This is before I was married, before I had kids. I was living at home. I was 23, 24.
Is this when you had the building?
Yes. Yep. And
7 days a week, how many hours?
I was 3 to 10 booked every weeknight.
Holy
They
cow.
come in at 3, and then usually
3 to
Saturdays
10.
were 8 to 4, 9 to 5 on Sunday. I mean, it was for a couple of years there. I mean, it was a lot. That's all I did was teach hitting.
All 30-minute increments.
Well, while still paying the bills, trying to run a business, trying to make it grow
Then
a
you
little bit.
Work at night, and thereafter, at 10 o'clock, you're doing bills and trying to do marketing and stuff like that. And I had a partner then, and that And,
Did you have any background on like how to market a business or fund a business or like anything?
No.
Just straight up
Did it. Yep.
Grabbed your boots.
Grab some credit cards. Am I supposed to say that on this?
How many? Wait, so you didn't take out a business loan?
Nope.
Just straight credit cards.
Signed the lease, straight cards, nets, turf, screens, machines.
What was the interest rate at that time for credit cards?
Well, they were all paid off after a year.
How did you do that?
I didn't draw. Everything I did, we put right back into it to get them paid off.
So basically, you paid for your own education for business.
Yeah, on the fly.
Essentially.
On the fly.
Well, and
I
think you've told me this. Like maybe your backup plan, you want to maybe be a teacher.
Yeah,
kind of what you went
I
in
got my
education?
degree in education.
Okay.
So I was going to be an industrial technology teacher, like CAD and drafting and stuff like that. And
Wow.
I actually got a full-time teaching position the off season. I was with the Yankees. They had an emergency spot open up at a local middle school.
Okay.
It was Rockwood South in the Rockwood district.
Okay.
And I literally was the teacher, not a sub. I was a permanent teacher for a semester.
I didn't know that.
Teacher's pay, which was great when you're in the minor leagues. Think about it. You know?
Yeah,
And
you're
I
living.
guess,
like,
you feel like you can go to the Ritz Carlton.
Quadrupled your weekly
Yeah,
salary.
right. So I did that and did lessons at night, and then
So you actually taught.
I taught for it was a half semester. Like I said, full time though. And then
They
I
call
went
you
to
Mr.
spring-
Jaworowski?
No, they
think
called
so.
him Mr. J with that last
Mr.
name.
J.
Actually, I think they did call me Mr. J. And then went right into spring training in February, with that year. So that was kind of wild, and but I always had a passion for teaching, education. My personality is, you guys probably know this, but I'm very organized. And I want things detailed.
You want it
I
a
like-
certain way.
I like seeing a start and an end to a
Yep.
project.
Yep.
So
Would you say you're more like an operator than anything else, like a process guy?
I think I was an operator that's good with people.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
so like I like things like I had to learn the accounting, which I feel like I'm still learning it sometimes, but like I feel like I'm good with numbers, I'm good with operating things, I'm good with keeping things organized, keeping things on task, keeping projects moving.
So like, did you have to be pretty self-aware, like when you were doing that, like, oh, I need this. I for whatever reason, I'm struggling with this section of the business.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And even like the marketing. Like I never got into designing flyers and stuff, so we went through countless people in the last 22 years on doing flyers. And
But
now-
you were
now-
able to have the wherewithal to actually
No, you need
find
to do it.
You knew that
Yeah.
you knew you needed that, which is
Correct.
crazy thing because like small businesses when they fail, like I love learning about it. Like they don't find, oh, I need to reach out to this person because of
They
I
don't have the pivot moment.
They don't have the pivot moment, or they don't want to spend that money. They don't think that money's really worth it, but in reality, it is worth
yeah.
it. I kind of view that as a player's career too, where they have this moment where, you know what, I'm not really good at this. What should I do? Should I just keep banging my head against the wall, or should I get somebody to help me? It's like getting a tutor,
Yeah.
knowing, hey, I have a math problem. I need to find somebody to actually help me with math.
Yeah.
So now you've started Balls and Strikes.
Mm-hmm.
You're running a great book of business through your lessons, etc. What was like the next shift? What did you do after that?
Well, I think the landscape in St. Louis shifted, and nationally too. Actually, I think St. Louis was behind, and that's when the club baseball scene hit.
And before that, so Balls and Strikes was known, and it's crazy to think about the amount of instructors who are now club owners who've gone on into long careers in baseball that came out of your facility.
Even the
facility.
the major leaguers that came out of the
Major
facility.
leaguers came out of it. Hundreds,
Yep.
literally
Yeah.
Hundreds, and top end instructors have all taught there. And it was kind of like, to correct me if I'm wrong, one of the only shows in town. You were like,
It
one of the
was.
start.
Yeah, I mean, in St. Louis, I think obviously I know this is a wider audience than St. Louis, but there was another school, Greg Matthews Baseball Academy, and they're off 94 and out in Harvester, and I think that was it.
So if you wanted high end instruction, those were your only choices.
That was it.
So minor leaguers weren't teaching.
I'm sorry.
Minor leaguers weren't teaching at that time.
Some were. Yeah.
Because you started getting a bunch of dudes to come and teach. I remember, because the original setup there, you had 7 cages, right?
Yep.
And so I remember you telling me on so many nights, you just have 7 instructors in those cages teaching 5, 6, 7 hours, especially in the off season going.
Yep. Something I learned too early that I think helped our business is I don't think it mattered. Well, let me back up. I think the baseball background and resume matters, but the instructor's personality and how they relate to kids and parents is more important. Because if they're passionate about it, they're gonna build clientele. It doesn't matter if they played in the big leagues or NAIA.
Well, you can tell.
And
You can tell, when someone really is a teacher like that. We had that conversation a couple episodes ago where it was do you have to have? Oh, it wasn't couple. It was like more like 20. But
Seems like a couple.
yeah, I need to get better at like doing the research before we jump into a conversation. So then I can be like, oh, it's episode 58. Anyways, having someone that is a teacher versus a good player. Like if your history as a player was really good, that doesn't really solidify you as a good teacher or a good trainer or even a good
Correct.
motivator, which I find super interesting.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we all know one of the best trainers that we've had he doesn't do baseball anymore, but he literally did not play a single inning of college baseball
Yep.
and built an unbelievable clientele.
Yeah, he played in the fall and then didn't make the squad in the spring, and he ended
Mm-hmm.
up coaching high school.
Yep.
Then he came on board with us, and
But then he ended up having major leaguers. He was working with major leaguers.
Yeah.
And major leaguers were trusting him.
yeah, and a lot of minor league guys.
Yeah.
This is very recent too. This
Yeah.
is I mean, he's a good dude. So
Which I think like experience, at what point does experience really play a factor? Or is the right experience where you're actually teaching, you know?
Right.
So,
I also don't think it's a blanket statement where it's not. I mean, I think there are really good guys that played high level big league baseball, and I'm sure they're wonderful teachers, right? So I think there are some of them. I'm not saying that's everybody, but I don't think you need that high elite resume in order to teach kids how to develop. You know, I think it's more passion based, really.
then what do you say about the person's like, oh, I'm listening to this podcast and I could be a teacher. I could teach baseball. At like, where do you draw the line of, okay, yeah, you can't really teach baseball, or you can't teach math, or you can't teach English?
Well, they're probably the ones that work out, you know, that maybe didn't play at a high level. And I'm saying, I think you need to play like in college.
Sure.
You
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to play at some levels.
Yep.
I'm just saying, if you had a guy like Roger Clemens, Hall of Famer, how many hours can Roger teach in a week? 40?
Maybe
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe.
Okay.
if you wanted to.
Okay.
If you,
I'll
if you
throw a
wanted
name
to.
from the past because I've told this story before. Rob Morris, right? He played at Missouri Baptist 4 years. How many hours can he teach in a week?
Same.
40. So from a program standpoint in the book of business, you don't need a Roger Clemens to make this work.
Yep.
You just don't, you know, but you need passionate people. You need passionate people that want to be here. They got to be reliable. They got to be great with kids and parents, and they got to be self-learners and keep learning the game, and people will gravitate towards them.
Then
So-
where does that play into culture where you actually find those people? Because you see all kinds of people. I mean, the years that you've been in this, you've seen the best of the best to, man, that person is just absolutely garbage. Like, I don't want to have anything to deal with him anymore or her.
The good ones stick around and carve out their niche.
So you
Leave.
just let them dig their own grave, or
To
make
some-
their
I mean,
own,
if-
or
if-
make
if
their
there-
own
if there-
mountain.
If there's an issue right away, we will step in and
Yeah.
do a pivot on that hire or whatnot, and it's happened.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's somebody that's got a real quiet, shy personality, and they're not a take charge guy in the cage with a group of kids in front of them or a lesson, they're probably not going to make it. Doing
I mean,
this,
they just don't
you
end
know?
up getting clientele anyhow. It's
Yeah.
not really on the
Yeah.
business side. It's
Yeah.
on them.
yeah,
And it's what are they willing to do? I mean, Dave, we were talking before Spiker got here this morning with Sandy about one of our new guys,
Yep.
and
Yep.
played Division I, played at Mizzou, and with COVID, he's out of a job, and he is willing to do anything.
Yep.
He'll do phones, scheduling, he'll do marketing. He's going to be our summer camp director this summer.
Dude,
We got him doing lessons, just starting out. He's a guy that's going to carve a niche, and he's going to work. I can tell you right now, he's going to work.
well,
You know
Spiker,
it.
Did you mop floors like me?
yeah,
Did you clean bathrooms like me?
yeah,
Did you do the front desk like me?
yeah.
I mean, there's nothing that
I did it too.
Yeah, of course, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm kind of.
There's something to say to where you start at the ground
Yeah.
floor, like,
Yeah.
and I guess it goes back to this college culture where someone gets a college degree and they think, oh, I've made it, I've got a college degree, I don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's beneath me. That's for a high school graduate or an elementary graduate or middle school graduate. Like I'm bigger than that.
Well, not in the world that we live in. Not in the small business
Well,
world.
a small business world. I mean, it's like you've really got to grind it. Like even First Form's. I was talking to Chris George. Chris works for us. He's a coach for the Tigers, but he
The
also
zoo teammate.
yeah. Oh, you were teammates with him, weren't you? Mm-hmm. And he's an Olympian, correct?
Yeah, I think Italy. Am I mistaken?
Or Greek?
Greece.
Greek.
I think he's Greek.
He's something. Like it's not US. He's not United States. I know that. But he's working for First Form, and we've mentioned them in the podcast. We're big fans of the Frisella brothers, and we love how they run their Instagram accounts and run their business. It's very interesting. And he was saying that everyone starts at the factory floor. Boxing, shipping, everyone starts there, and then they grow back into the role that they applied for, which I find super valuable because you're starting that culture at a very fundamental level, which is this is a hardworking culture, this is blue collar, this is not white collar, and then it eliminates that changing of jobs where right now I feel like in company culture, where even in the finance world, oh, I'm going to leave this company in like 2 years. Like already calling their shot after they get the job. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to spend here for like 2 or 3 years and then I'm going to climb the ladder and get to the next spot. Which again, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the culture that is built inside Fortune 500 companies. But what I'm saying is if you're a small business, it's not like that. You have to start literally at ground zero.
I just think it's such a mentality type of challenge that they're putting people through, and it's like if you're not willing to do that or think you're above those types of tasks, then what else down the road are you going to say you're above, or what else are you going to kind of pivot and say I don't want to do this because that's not my job? And that's certainly something that you've never instilled here with the Tigers or Balls and Strikes.
Yeah, which then goes back to a baseball team or a softball team where you pick up the baseballs, pick up the dugout, and then you have that player that thinks he's better than everybody else and then doesn't pick up the dugout, doesn't clean up. Like, oh, that's for the bench players, or that's for Johnny who struck out 5 times.
That team doesn't work out.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Even in college, like some people, you give me trouble about this being a D1 baby. If anyone does
to rake a mound in your life.
I was a JUCO bandit, brother. this guy right here was a D1 baby. But anyways, where you have to clean up that dugout. Even the starters would clean up the dugout after games. It wasn't like, okay, starters, you can go to the clubhouse and chill out for a little bit while the pitchers clean up this dugout. It's just not like that.
Right.
And I think that's where successful cultures start, is at that ground level.
Vanderbilt does it. Every fall, the whole team gets out there and they scrub their dugouts, like do a complete major clean of their dugouts and their baseball space, and that's the culture.
I think it goes back to doing the basics, because UCLA Wooden used to do that. He would teach them how to tie their shoes, and everyone, like literally these All-Americans come in and they're freshmen, and
Day one.
And this old little white guy is teaching them how to tie their shoes. And the principle is that if you don't know how to tie your shoes, you're going to get blisters on your feet, and then you're going to be in the DL, and then you're going to complain about practice, and I can't have that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with Vanderbilt, they have those numbers. They don't have their names on the back. And they don't even have the logo. They don't even get the logo yet. In fall, they have to earn that logo, which I find super fascinating because it eliminates that 5-star recruit or the perfect game 10th ranked person, and literally sets them down on the bottom of the totem pole and be like, you still haven't earned
And it
your,
makes total sense.
They
They don't bring in a dude
logo.
who's not a perfect game top 500
Yeah, I'd say they
kid.
get there and they're all
they
that
don't
level.
have anybody else like that. So it's
well, those egos are
an ego
probably
check.
like at Division II, you're probably not dealing with it that much. JUCO, you're not dealing with it that much. Mid-major, you are, but then when you get into that D1 Power 5, oh boy, you got a lot of egos coming into your clubhouse, and you got to check that right at the door, or it's going to take off on you.
So next, hold on. I want to keep going down this road with you. All right.
Okay.
So now you've got Balls and Strikes running. You got instructors left and right doing great things. You started to mention the kind of change in the trends or the culture of baseball in the area. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So club baseball hit, right? And I think in started a lot earlier, like down south in Texas, and softball's been around for years.
When I was in high school, it's really when it just started. Like there was maybe like 2 teams, and then there was Slava Legion.
Late 90s,
That was
early 2000s.
You just aged me a little bit there, buddy. It was mid 2000s, so I graduated in 2005.
Yeah.
So if anyone doesn't know, Slava is the St. Louis.
It was like American Legion.
Yeah,
it's
the St. Louis version. They just only played in St. Louis.
Yep.
And then Legion's Legion.
Yep.
Everyone knows what Legion is. So.
Yep.
And they had geographical boundaries, and then club teams started, right? And then they had kids from anywhere, and they travel more basically, and probably more. I think in general more structured and in-depth training in the winter, and I just
more
thought,
specialized.
Yeah, and I knew we had the staff. Like we had plenty of staff to do this and launch a program, and we had the facility. So
wait, did you see that coming? Like you saw this moving and you made the decision to go into club baseball, or was it kind of like you had to see it a couple more times? Like there was already a couple first movers in the market.
There was a couple movers in the market.
Okay,
and then just feedback from customers that we had and people we were close to that were in those organizations, wanting something different, listening right to what's going on out there, and like let's launch this, let's do it. So we did that first year. I think we did 6 and under all the way through 17, one team at each age. I coached a 6U team. It was fun. And but what we did is I contacted coaches that used our facility. So I went after people that I knew personally, their personalities, how they coached, and good people, good family people. And then we had high school tryouts, and you were there, Dave,
I was at the very first one.
Yeah. So that's when it all started for the Tiger part. The Rawlings Tigers brand and the club.
And that was really still what I would consider the infancy stage of travel club baseball in this area for sure, and I think in the country.
Yeah,
it was just barely starting
to
form.
Like 2010.
Yeah, 2009, 2010.
Yep. I think summer 2010 was our first year.
Yep.
There's a chart out there, and it talks about how trends work, and you have initial adopters, and then you have first adopters, and then now you get into more of the majority, right? Which I still think we're starting to get towards the majority. It's getting to that point, and I would say that would probably be the first adopter. You were more of a first adopter. You saw it. I want to move on it, and then you started getting people into the club.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yep. And it went well. People really liked what we're doing, our vision, player development.
Again, it went back to what you said at the start. You had good people. If you actually look back at the first high school staff you put together, let alone the youth coaches who have been longtime friends and clients of ours who still in our lives.
Well,
you had some really good
Brian
people.
Unger, former head coach at Quincy.
Division II University.
It was you. You were one of the coaches. It was Dave Stewart, who played at Nebraska, played at the Reds, and now he's the head coach at DeSmet.
State champion head coach, yeah.
Yeah, coached 6-7 years with us.
Yep.
It was Brett Collins, who was the grad assistant at SEMO. Now he's coaching high school in Sykeston.
Very good program that he runs down there.
Travis Griffin, who we just talked about, that ended up working with pro guys, major leaguers. And Aaron Bird.
He was part of that driveline movement.
Yeah. Yep.
And the Jaeger movement.
And brought those in. And then the other one was Aaron Bird.
Who's now a superintendent or principal?
I think he's a principal. I believe
But he's
a
higher
principal.
up, and he's obviously a very credited person.
Yeah. Those were our 6 coaches we had first year for 3 teams. I mean, that's an all-star lineup right there.
And I always go back to, I feel like it was it was so interesting for me to look back because we didn't have good seasons.
No.
Those are arguably the worst seasons that Tiger programs ever put out there.
Well, you didn't have any draft
on the
picks. You didn't have
field,
any college.
on the
from
field,
results on
yeah.
the field.
Our training,
but you didn't have any college guys. You didn't have any. We
had some D3s,
we ended up getting a
D2s,
couple of the
yeah.
17.
No, but what I'm
guys.
saying is to get these clubs started, you had literally no testimonials or no footprint.
No.
Not at all.
No.
I think our only testimonials was the college staff background.
Yeah.
Or high school staff's background. That was about the only thing. And even that, we kind of got to the whole party late. Like, the tryout season's normally in that August timeframe at that time.
We did them in December.
And we did them in December.
And how many clubs were in St. Louis at that time?
I want to say
8 or 9, maybe.
10. I would have said.
A lot of
There's
them
a
were
couple big
smaller,
names,
you know.
and then there were
But
a couple small ones.
yeah,
But
I'd say there's three bigger ones, and
Yeah.
they're still around, you know. And you probably had 6 or so smaller ones. So now there's probably, I'm guessing there's 40 plus in St. Louis,
easily.
You know, yeah.
But what's interesting to me is because it goes back to what we've been talking about from a culture standpoint. The culture was good. The teaching was good. Everything
Yep.
was good. The wins and losses weren't. But all those families wanted to come back out. And our tryouts that next year when we were actually on time for them
Well, they were huge.
were huge.
Yeah.
Those are some of the
yeah.
biggest numbers that I've ever seen
Yeah.
to this date. Huge numbers.
Yeah.
You remember it at Parkway South High School and you see this line coming in and you're like, holy.
Do you think it's just the word of mouth that took over? Or do you think it was, we marketed it correctly?
I think
Probably-
both.
Yep.
I mean, I think it was word of mouth. I think it's our audience and teams we were competing against, seeing our coaches on the field in the summer. Oh, these guys are doing it the right way, you know, and just wanting something different. You know, and I think the
The
marketing
facility
we were,
helped too. Everybody knows the
Yeah.
facility that we were in.
Yeah, it was a good. I mean, it is a good location for baseball in St. Louis. We're right in between Lafayette and Marquette and Parkway South and Parkway West. That's our Baldwin location. So it's a hotbed of high school baseball, and we had high school coaches on staff that I think helped too. You know,
When
so.
you say the right way, when a coach does it the right way, what do you mean?
I think the way they handle the kids. I think pregame. What's their personality like during a game? You know, they're not yellers and screamers, and it's not about them or demeaning the kids. You know, it's teaching the kids, and just it's always focused on development. Everything we do is focused on development, no matter if it's a top team
Doing
kid
it for
or
the
a
right
second
reasons.
team.
So it's not
Yeah.
the content. It's not the content that or the knowledge base that coach has. It's more of the temperament.
I think that's a lot of it. Yeah. I mean,
What are the
it's-
reasons? Why are they in it? Like, what are they doing
Yeah.
it for?
Yeah.
They
Is it
doing
just
it
for the money, or is
the
it
money
for?
to float their ego? Are they in it for the kids?
Are they in it
Yeah.
for the trophies?
Yeah.
The other thing we've always tried to do is find school teachers because they're off in the summer and they're educators. And, you know, if you find high school baseball coaches that they want to be around baseball more, so they coach in the summer. And again, they're educators. They teach. They know how to teach, whether it's geography or math or baseball. They're used to teaching kids, you know. And they've always made great coaches, I think, when you find those
I agree.
guys.
So, question for you. After that year one, now fast forward 10 years down the road, did you see any of this coming?
When he means
You
this, he
mean-
means national club, right?
I mean, just
mean like the
in
next
generalities
phase?
where
Or
travel
showcases.
club, where everything's gone now,
Yeah.
how tournaments have exploded. Just, I mean, the whole industry of itself is gaining at a massive rate.
Yeah.
It didn't even slow down during COVID. I mean, did you see any of this? Could you have forecast this or what?
No, I thought in St. Louis we would put our stake down. I really believed that day one with the guys we had, you know, that we were going to be dudes, right? Because I thought we were setting up the right way on, you know, the admin side, the marketing, and the player development. If you do those three things, you got a heck of a chance.
Well, and something
know.
that we haven't talked about yet was our admin side. I mean, we have people in this building that do a phenomenal job with that.
Two of them full time.
Yeah,
I think that's a separator for a lot of clubs, or even just in general business. When you have good admins and operators, it changes everything.
Yep.
Yeah, communication has always been really good with us, et cetera, and it's to their credit,
Yeah. So anyway, so I thought in every year there's been more talented kids that have come out to the tryout, right? And that part I could see coming, but everything kind of around the Tigers that you guys and me talk about a lot, like the national stuff, not Tigers national, we'll get in that in a minute, but more the showcases that started and the tournaments and how those have evolved and the complexes. I mean, I wasn't thinking that 10 years ago,
That wouldn't.
but
You kind of think back. You think that's been around for like 15 years. It's only been here for like 7.
yeah.
Technically, yeah. I mean, well, internet's made that just explode. obviously.
I mean, think about Lake Point in Atlanta, Grand Park in Indianapolis, everything else that's being built out there. The tournament companies that are running, 10,000 teams a year. I mean, that was not around 7-8 years ago. It wasn't.
No.
Wasn't there. It's crazy.
So
crazy.
where do you think this is going then?
I think it's going to revert back to more smaller events. Maybe even go back more to college fields because maybe it's getting too big, for venues and events, and maybe kids are getting lost out there if there's 140 teams in one event, where if you go to an event with 8 teams, might be different.
Is it bad that I disagree with my boss right now?
No, you can disagree.
See,
we don't know. We're not there yet. So
I honestly don't know where it's going to go. When you look at the cheerleading space, those are massive events. When you look at gymnastics, same thing. Yeah. Soccer's different. It's more smaller type events. They do have some big events in California. If I'm wrong, someone shoot me an email.
Yeah.
And basketball is you have these big arenas, but then you also have these smaller events. I just wonder from a time standpoint. I think the youth market will always have those big events because it's just going to be easier for teams. They get to play from multiple locations. Like if you go to Indy at Grand Park, you could play a Minnesota team, a Milwaukee team, a Texas team, Arkansas. Like you got everybody there. I mean, it's an easy in and out. Airport's really easy to get in and out. So, and then if Perfect Game ever builds their Austin complex, that's going to be interesting because now that's the tech hub be the tech hub of the world.
It'll all be data driven too.
Yeah.
Like we know that's all coming.
So where I don't know about high school. That's the real question. I always think that data is going to win. So whatever tournament director, if you're a tournament director out there right now, I'll give you a little hint on what clubs are thinking. If you get a tournament that is all data driven, so if we have sensors on everybody, we have TrackMan going, we have all the tech going, and then you're able to consolidate that data and send it out through a feed, and you have smaller events, I think that's going to win because then college coaches can go back and they can revert back and look at that data and be like, okay, that person's doing this person's doing that. I know where they lie. Like that's where I think it's going to go. I'm in the middle. I think it's going to be smaller, but I'm also thinking it's going to be big too.
I don't think it's ever going to slow down. And here's why. Cities, states, areas are starting to realize the economic impact that youth travel sports is, whether that be baseball, softball, soccer, doesn't matter, okay? They're really starting to get some numbers there, and there's incentives based on bringing bigger tournaments, bigger facilities, things of that nature to different locations across the country. Because obviously parents are looking for experiences, they're looking for, great places to travel, et cetera, and they're going to do that with their kids. So when they start seeing the economic impact that a Grand Park has on Indianapolis or Westfield or Lake Point or any of the other places across the country, there's incentives to not only expand on that area, but do more. Okay. And with everything being, with social media driving these types of narratives and really just, think about the people that are on social media that are in our space, Spiker. There are some very popular people out there that have found ways and niches to do that and blow that up. And now the information can travel at such a rapid pace. Back 10 years ago, we had no idea of tournaments in different states. We really didn't. We played locally. That's all we knew. That's all I knew growing up. I didn't even know about traveling.
It was all associations, and
I couldn't even tell you a team in Indiana. I had no idea. I played for Chesterfield Legion. I had no clue who they are. Now, every one of our 10U players can tell you 30, 40 different teams outside of the state. They can tell you all that. So I don't think that dream, that image, I think that's only going to expand. I think we're just hitting, breaking the surface on that. I think that there's so many different avenues and areas to bring that experience out even more from a youth side tournament. I think, like you said, on a data standpoint, I think from a high school standpoint, there's going to be it's going to look totally different in 3, 4, 5 years in terms of what a game looks like. Maybe it's all going to be streamed because this whole COVID thing sent streaming through the roof. Things of that, it's going to evolve and change.
Yeah, I don't know if streaming is going to get there because it's just like there's the technology has to get a little bit cheaper because
True.
those GoPros, I'm telling you right now, you can't see
Sure.
jack shit on it.
Sure.
You just can't. It's like they're like little dots out there. I'm like, was that Timmy? I don't know if that was Timmy. Was that Timmy? I think it was. No, that was Johnny. He hit the home run.
But with technology becoming so much more, available to people like us, okay, where it used to all just be to the major league teams. That's where all the technology was focused, and now they're coming up with
trickling
more,
down.
Yeah, it's trickle down effect, and there's affordable type of technology that we can implement and use. And then that's incentivizing businesses to put more money into that because we're all the numbers.
Yep.
The numbers are with us. The numbers aren't with college, with professional baseball. Now, the eyeballs are, but the numbers are down here. So the people who can actually use that technology and go to these places, I mean, that's in our world.
That's why I think cities are starting to realize. You start to see these small cities building these massive complexes. Iowa, for example, TBK Bank. It's literally in the middle of nowhere, and they have a multi-field complex with volleyball, basketball, unbelievable courts. It's a crazy. If you've never been there, I think isn't Davenport or
Beddendorf.
Beddendorf. It's in Beddendorf, and they're taking the model of Grand Park. Which, if you don't know what Grand Park is, it's the Indianapolis location, and it has.
It's in Westfield, Indianapolis.
Yeah.
It's a suburb of Indianapolis.
I think they broke ground in like 2012, and now it's a major.
Well,
it's
I
almost
read-
a city itself.
I read a study that, I believe it was a 2018 economic impact study, that Grand Park at that time had a like 140 or 150 million dollar economic impact on the city alone, just that year,
Just that single year.
just that single year, and then it's probably grown exponentially from that. I mean, I'm
Which-
sure it's a lot higher now.
I find interesting because then USSSA built that unbelievable complex in Florida,
Sure.
and they didn't get the impact that they thought they would. But then like these little like TBK Bank is doing really well. Indianapolis is doing really well.
I
It's
mean, I think a lot of it's how you market it and where you're at. But
even Creekside. Creekside's doing well in Kansas City.
I mean, what they're starting to realize is that this impacts everything. This impacts hotel growth, jobs in that area, jobs in general at the facilities. I mean, there's so many, I guess, strings off of that one area of how it impacts that area that now people are trying to find ways to get people to come in there. So that's where I'm saying I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm not saying bigger in terms of like that's a great thing, but I think there's going to be so much more opportunity in 5 years than we even know.
I think you're right. I mean, when I say it's going to go back, I meant to like the size of the tournaments. It wasn't like the venues and the technology. And I think you're spot on.
I think there's
on that
going to
part
be
of it,
some of those opportunities that you talk about. But, we know who tournament directors are. They're capitalists.
Yeah.
They like making money.
That'd be more at the elite level
Sure,
too. Where you're getting a certain type of teams, together to play an event.
Sure.
But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Do you think that college sports is going to be a thing still in like 10 years? Or like for just baseball wise, like we're going to go get a college scholarship? Or do you think it's going to change because people are going to value, I want to be more with my club?
Oh, I think there'll be college.
You think that college is
Do you
still
think
going to
there
be
will
around?
ever be a U21 Rolling Tigers? Or
That was the
21
You're
U?
talking about
that was the
instead of
conversation.
playing like for your college in the spring.
Yeah, like
So
I
you're
was,
saying-
I made
Or in the
this
summer,
I made this point the other day, which was I could totally, because you think I'm crazy on this. I totally could.
Never thought about it.
I could totally see, because this online thing, people are saying, why am I paying $30,000 to go to college when I could learn everything on the internet and I could have Zoom meetings? And then that puts into question, does college sports get a hit from that? Like Power Fives. I don't think Power Fives will ever go anywhere.
Yeah.
But college sports, the whole purpose is to make sure you get an education. But if people start saying, I don't really want to spend $10,000 a year, I don't want to go in student debt. Like that's the big conversation now, where with the administration coming out and saying we're going to eliminate student loan debt of up to $50,000. what happens if they never do that again, and then these kids get more debt? Like, I mean, we're going down a rabbit hole, but I'm just saying, like, could you see that possibility of club baseball going older? He's uncertain right now. He doesn't. I don't think he went.
He doesn't want to play that line.
He doesn't want to play that line.
Well, I just think that I think that everything's going to evolve. I mean, it already is. It already is. I mean, just look at our club alone. We have teams in 30 states right now. I would have never, ever thought that 5 years ago. I would have never even thought there'd be a need for it. Why would there have been a need? And now there is, because of some of the things that we produce and provide. But, I mean, that's whole thing shifted. You know, I mean, there's just...
I'm just thinking, like, traditionally, this space started with American Legion, right? American Legion, you said, was geographically, you were constrained to that location. And if you couldn't make that squad, your ball and Legion had how many dudes going to D1?
7 or 8.
Yeah, like a fringe player that's like a good high school player is not making that team. I'm sorry, you're not going to make that team unless you don't play the position that D1 player is. If you play a different position, right? So then this goes back to the conversation of like, well, Legion was geographically constraining, then clubs opened it up and literally broke the whole baseball community up. And obviously with that, people wanted to still see Legion, but it couldn't survive it because they were geographically constrained. Now, when you have this deal with college, like, I don't want to pay that money. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big deal. That's a trend thing that I'm seeing. It's like, does that really work? Because right now you're seeing kids going to school on Zoom. They know how to work the technology. They're not struggling with it to a certain extent. But at what point do they say, I love people, but I'm just going to hang out with my club and play U20 and then hopefully get drafted, or play U21 and hopefully get drafted.
Your degree online.
Get your degree online.
I could see it going into summer for sure. I think I could see that happening before anything else.
Because the big thing is, like, if you have a player that is like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but then make it to Major League Baseball. What happens if I play till like I'm 21 years old while I get my degree and I'm playing top competition across the United States, and then a scout sees me and offers me a contract? I'm still getting my school. Yeah. I'm getting paid. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Could be a lot of pride though in going to a school and playing for him.
That's very true. Yeah. You can't underestimate that, because
100%.
That's why I don't think Power Fives will ever go anywhere.
No.
Like your Mizzou, your Alabama, your Arkansas. There's a lot of pride there, and it attracts fans. But I'm very interested in this European MLS type of situation where they're having these older age groups for soccer.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I see it in the summer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, down the road as an alternative to summer college leagues, or the leagues become filled with club teams.
Yeah.
You know.
And I could totally be wrong. I could totally be wrong.
Yeah.
But why did soccer go that way? They went that way because of the training. That was where the top players.
Yeah, that's where all the top coaches were. Yeah. When you have experienced coaches, they're the real asset. That's the value. Because if you get a real good coach, you could really change someone's career. Mm-hmm. When you have an okay coach, then a career could end real fast, real quick like that. Not saying that the player is victim, like he's a victim of it, but he can change his circumstances. But if you have, like, that's why I think teachers are completely underpaid. Mm-hmm. Is that when you have a really good teacher and they teach a subject tooth and nail. That's why I like econ so much. I had really good teachers at Missouri State, and I love that subject just because of them. Because they saw it in different ways. And they're 3 Indian teachers. Now I married an Indian, but 3 Indian teachers, and they ended up really explaining the subject really well, where a lot of friends, they say, you're an econ major? I'm like, yeah. Like, man, that sucks. So
I thought you majored in hitting, Spike.
No. You're a way better hitter than I was.
I just think overall, and we don't have to stay on this topic for long, but I think that over the, because we kind of talked about the 2000-2010 span, then the Tigers started, 2010 to 2020, so the next 10-year span. it's just interesting to me to kind of talk about and hear where the next 10 years could go, because I don't think that this industry is going anywhere. I think it's only going to expand. I think that there's more money being poured into it, more data, more coaching, more everything. I mean, just more jobs are being put into it. And with that comes opportunity. And what are those opportunities going to be? I just think it's an interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah. Well, and parents love seeing their kids play. They love that you have to have fans. If you don't have fans, then it really dries up real quick. And you have to have players. Players really streamline everything. And I don't see. We have this problem with Major League Baseball where their fan base is getting older and older and older. But I don't think they have the problem of kids adopting the game because parents are still teaching it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
They're still playing it.
Yeah.
They're still
just not
playing
watching it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like soccer. Soccer is not a popular sport in the United States when it comes to fan base, but it's very popular with youth sports because
Yep.
that's the first thing that you do. That's the
Yep.
first thing that you go after, right? And then they get into baseball, and then they go from there. Same thing with softball. So I think Major League Baseball has a problem. I don't think that amateur sports has a problem because I just think that you're always going to have that. We're going to teach them how to play baseball because there's a lot of life lessons involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of skill acquisition that you have to have.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
going back to this team culture type of conversation, you got to a point where you had your coaches, right? And then you go after the national program.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know who to hire and keep and move forward and also promote that culture? How did you know that? How did you had that instinct?
How'd
to
you
do it?
even know to start that?
Yeah, that's true.
So the idea came, I think we were one of the first, or to my knowledge, possibly the first with this idea, right? And I thought about it with the rural areas that didn't have facilities, clubs, a toolbox of resources. They didn't have clubs they could attach to and get the information they wanted. So I thought, well,
When you mean information, like information as in
online training,
okay,
right? Just it's the thing. The
operation side of
the
things.
operation side, the brand,
Because there's a lot of time that's involved
yeah,
with coaching.
social
whole
media, the
process,
videos, the process, the discounts, like stuff that's gonna streamline your season. If
Even
you're a
being able to
coach.
have like an online presence because a small team's not going to be able to fork over
Correct.
And
$100 a month to operate a website plus another $5,000 to actually design it out.
Yeah. And I thought when we first started this, we were thinking, individual teams, not territories, individual teams. And if we could get our footprint in these smaller cities, towns around the Midwest, and our brand's growing, we're helping them grow baseball in their area, trying to attach with good, people and coaches that are in it for player development. And that's when we launched it, And then what turned out is we got a lot of those people, but we got a lot of big cities too, which I wasn't anticipating or expecting, that came in like that. So, it was interesting to see that evolve. And now we're about to start year 4 with our regional program, our national program. So,
Do you think that you can call a business culture family or even a team family? Or do you think there's a line there?
no, I think it's family, right? I mean, you see our text all the time, right? I mean, half of them aren't work. Is that true? Like,
Half of them are not work. It's basically bashing Mizzou or saying Mizzou loss is awesome.
I got a little
know what I
heated.
mean,
I
like-
got a little heated last night in our text, but
yeah.
I think that
So I think it's family. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's not the extent it's my immediate family,
Immediate family,
right?
yeah.
Or siblings and relatives, but it's like we all care about each other, right? That's what we're about.
No.
It's more than baseball or a facility or a club.
Or
It's-
providing a service or anything
yeah,
like that.
I mean, you see it when guys walk in the door at night. You see instructors come in here afternoon, and Callahan comes in. I get excited. I want to go say, "Hey, Mike, what's going on? How you been?" Or Grayling or Rowe or Josh Herrick. I mean, we have so many good guys and gals too, and Molly Callahan, she's outstanding, you know. So
I would say that has been one of the driving forces behind why I think we're good. But then I think if you look at other businesses like First Home or anything out there, you see that type of a culture, that family culture. They talk about it all the time. And then that trickles down to the guys that we have across the country, whether they're individual coaches or guys who are running their brand of the Rolling Tigers in their area. I want them to know that at a drop of a dime that I'm here to do anything for them. I want that type of feeling to be passed along to them. I want that relationship to be built. I want them to know that they can call me at any time, day or night, and I'm going to have an answer for them, and I'm going to be there for them and help them through that journey. And that's personally a huge thing that I think goes overlooked in different businesses. If I go to a business and I know that type of service is going to be provided, I don't even care what the service is, I'm in. I love it. And I'll be a loyal customer for life if I can feel like that type of relationship is being reciprocated, because it's a trust thing, right? So I want all of our guys across the country who run our teams, I want them to know that if they need anything from me, if they need anything from Spike, Jaws, whoever else might be in our club, in our business, then they can feel like they can do that. And I think that's been something that I've been really, really proud of, and I think it's been why we are where we are.
How do you create that? Because again, I'm thinking of
Countless
microcosm,
hours.
like microcosm. How does a team do that? Where a coach is like, man, I want to build this team for my son or my daughter, and I want this team to be a culture where like they can rely on these people when they grow up and they keep on going through high school and college. Like they'll have those memories and those conversations, and like if they have a problem, they can always reach out to that person, that mom or that dad or even the daughter or the son. How do you create that?
Countless hours of it. That is something that I think can be just trained through reps, through doing it in action. Okay,
Action of like reaching out, like being
Well, I mean,
the
just
initiator,
anything,
or
anything. It's through any type of different action. It can be through reaching out, letting them know continuously, if you ever need anything, let me know. It's being responsive, and when a problem comes up, just getting after it and fixing that problem together with them right away. And just always being proactive in the communication side of things. It's something that, from me being a young business guy, when I first started working for him, I mean, I don't think he was on the phone every day just checking the boxes of every different aspect of our business. Now, that's what I learned from him from day one, was that he was always constantly checking in. I'd never worked for someone who would text me as much as he would or call me as much as he would about anything.
do you do that on purpose, or is that just innate? Like you just started.
I think
doing
that's
it?
him.
just me, just
Like, would you do
in
that when
my
you're in
head.
college? Well, you didn't have text messaging in college.
no.
Sorry to date you.
I'm a list
but-
guy. I always have a list, and I want to make sure the list is moving, and things on that list are getting done, and it's just me.
Well, and
I mean, we don't, face it. We have schedules. No.
No, but do we never have off time? I mean,
No,
probably
that's
not.
that's that's the flip side of it.
Do you guys have schedules? No, we don't work. We work all the time.
It's like, no, I never leave here, Aaron.
But that's fine because
I'm getting text messages at 3 a.m. on Saturday.
But that's all. That's just something that I think any good culture, any good business has. I mean, you never really totally walk away from it, and you never want to be closed off to that.
Yeah.
I feel for the people who are sometimes those 9-to-5ers who just walk away from it. I mean, I can totally impress this upon people. I want them to feel like they can reach out. I've done that with my players forever. The first speech I always give our players at the start of the year is, I want you to feel like you can ask me anything, come to me with anything at any time, because that's a relationship that I want. I feel like when players have bought into that, that's when we've really seen growth. Now I take that over to the business side. I want the same thing from our directors, our coaches. Anytime, call. Let's talk, even if you just want to call and say hi. Or same thing from me. And that's something he does really well, is just continuously reaches out and makes sure that relationship. Because at the end of the day, whether it's a relationship between you and a customer, you and a potential customer, like via marketing, what you do, trying to get the brand image out there, it's wanting to create a feeling, a strong relationship-based feeling, right?
Yeah.
You want them to feel like they're part of your family, right? That is huge. And I think that's very, very important.
I think on the team side, I think it comes from the head coach. He is the one, or she is the one, that has to mold that culture with their group, their parents and their players. It starts with the head coach. We had a meeting today before you got here with Dan Krickemeyer.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of our 12U coaches here in St. Louis, and we met for about an hour. It was him and one of his moms, and 3 times in that meeting, and it's funny to talk about today, but 3 times in that meeting he said, "We are a family, we're not a team." And here we are talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
which they have it. They have that culture, what we're talking about here, and it's because of him.
Well, yeah. He's
And-
pretty high level. Like, he goes above and beyond. Is able to. He calls you, texts you.
Yeah.
Make sure he's always in your back hip.
Yeah. But if you can build an organization around
Those same fundamentals.
30 guys like Dan Krickemeyer,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be pretty good,
Yeah.
off the field. And that's all that really matters, right? So, I don't know. That's my perspective, is teach the game, develop it in the right way, and the winning and everything else is going to take care of itself, because you're going to attract people that want to be here. So,
In college, were you one of the captains, or were you?
no, I was more quiet, I mean, once you guys know, once you get to know me, I open up, but
Yeah.
I'm not a speech guy.
Just to let everyone,
Just to
let
everyone,
everyone, let everyone know that he was very nervous for this podcast. He's
Yeah,
like,
how am I
you
doing?"
can edit this, right, Spike? Yeah, I can edit it. You've known me for 5 years on marketing. Yes, I can edit.
Yeah, no, probably more just lead by example.
Yeah. By the way, this is going to be completely raw. I'm not making any edits on this podcast.
Nope.
Not even a Greek comment. All right.
So, guys, that's going to be this episode of The Closing Pitch. We're going to close it off right here, this being the Christmas episode. We really appreciate you guys listening into us. Every time Thanksgiving rolls around, or even the holidays, I always like to reflect and be grateful for where I'm at right now and who's around me. And the best way to express that is having 2 guys that I love hanging out with and talking shop. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. Again, there was really no big agenda. The only question I really wanted to answer was, what is family? And I'm a big believer in that. Family is the community that you create, and it could be either a team, it could be a business culture, or it could be just your immediate family or your group of friends. So my closing pitch on this is, find your family, tell them you love them, be grateful for them, and really enjoy this holiday and going into 2021, because we're all glad that 2020 is over. Dave, what's your closing pitch?
My closing pitch is this. I think we've kind of touched base on the origin of the club, where it's going, where it could go. I just want to say I'm thankful for it. It's an opportunity that's just taken us in so many different directions, and it's really neat and fun to see it grow and evolve, whether it be the Tigers or Rawlings Training Center, Balls and Strikes, the whole industry as itself. So I'm just thankful for that. I'm thankful for where it's going. And I hope everybody out there who listens to us, I'm thankful for you guys and giving us an opportunity to talk and hopefully pass along a little information and knowledge to you. And I hope you guys have a great holiday season.
Jaws, what's your closing pitch?
So I would kind of echo Dave a little bit. Just thank you to all the coaches in our organization and families. Nationally and here in St. Louis, we met a lot of great people in 2020, and I feel like the Tigers just plowed through 2020 in such a big way, and we didn't let some challenges stop us with our brand, our club, organization, and what we're trying to do and accomplish. And I think 2021 and beyond is going to be just fantastic. So enjoyed working with you guys every day, and Shannon, Sandy, Chris, Trent, Hacker, all the guys, and just really thankful for our coaches and families. So,
guys, that's this episode of The Closing Pitch. If you enjoyed this conversation, love what you have to hear, and you want to share it with someone, please share it. That's the biggest way that we can get the word out. And we're starting to do some Instagram videos. If you want to follow the Rawlings Tigers Instagram page, I am posting little snippets of the closing pitch, if it applies to baseball, and putting it in through that feed. So if you want to see our faces,
And TikTok.
oh, Dave wants to mention the TikTok. I didn't know. I thought you that was I can't even talk right now. I'm stunned by you saying TikTok.
We do have a TikTok page. What is it called? The closing pitch?
Yeah.
If you search that on TikTok,
Yes.
I'm not a big talker. Okay. I don't use it that much. I don't even know if that's a term. But we are on there. That's where he's putting the shorts. They're kind of cool videos. I dig them, so check them out.
What is TikTok?
You don't know. Jaws is obviously kidding with teenagers that he has in his household. Thanks, guys. Subscribe to the show. We'll talk to you later.
See you guys.
See you.
Thank you for watching or listening, or both, to The Closing Pitch. If you would like to get your closing pitch featured on the show, we use a podcasting app called Anchor, where you can submit your statement or question via audio. Or what you can do is comment in the comment section of this post. We also accept direct messages. Please give us the A-OK if you do send us a DM to use your statement or question on the show. Last thing, please give us a review on your platform of choice. 5-star preferably, and we value your opinion, and this allows us to reach more people. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.